Today I'm going to show you how to do double-sided laminating, and we're talking BOPP or Celloglazing, which is used most commonly on business cards and book covers and stuff like this. So last time, or in another video, I've showed you single side. This time I'm just going to focus solely on double-sided. So we're starting with the machine set up standard as it comes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove, just basically this time I'm only going to remove one part. That just makes it easier for me to set up. I don't need the rewind mandrel on top. So I'm going to remove that and place it down the bottom. Then my next step is to unlock the film mandrel. So just line my key up, remove it. And we're just going to put a roll of gloss on the top here. And what I'm going to do is, basically, you'll see your centimetres marked in here. This is a 320mm, so 32 centimetre roll. So I know if I halve that, bring it up to 16, it'll give me 16 on the other side. So that will line up with all my other marks on the machine. So this makes it easier when you first set up to do this small. It's only a small thing to do, but make sure everything's lined up and it makes the whole job a lot easier. So now I'm going to bring the film underneath our idle roller and then down over the front of our machine. Now the next step, where it varies from single-sided, is I want to put a second roll of film on this machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold our feed tray back, make sure this one is dropped all the way down, and I'm then going to remove our lower film mandrel, which is this one. I'm going to grab another roll of film. This one is a matte roll. Just make sure I get pretty much all the tape off it, because tape can leave marks on your rollers, and this is a very thin film, so we don't want to leave any marks. So this roll I'm going to drop back in under the tray. Depending on the diameter of the roll, you'll need to lift the tray a little bit to initially get it into the machine. So what I'm going to do before I go any further is the same thing. I'm going to come around and line up with my 16 centimetre mark. 16 centimetres, 16 centimetres, so the film will be nice and lined up and straight. So then from that point, I'm just trying to find the end of the film here. So I've got the end of the film. I'm now going to bring that up and stick it to the top film that we just brought down before. So now what we have is a web of film running through the machine. Now, unlike the top roll where I've gone under an idler bar, the idler bar is built into this tray. So all I need to do now is drop this down like that, and we have our web through. So now I'm going to grab another setup sheet. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to back that off by hand a little bit, just to make sure there's no drag on it. And then I'm going to push both rolls through into the machine. If you're not sure you've gone far enough, you can back it off a little bit more and you'll be able to push it through further. So then I'm going to close my rollers, hit auto, and basically our feed-in sheet, which is just a piece of scrap card, but usually a decent weight helps. So basically that will take our film through the back of the machine. If you've watched our single-sided one, you would have seen me remove the cutting tray. In this one, I'm going to leave it there to support the sheet as it comes out. Because double-sided, we want to pretty much cut it off as soon as it comes out of the machine. So once our feed treat has come through the machine and it's all looking good, what I can do is I can just press auto again. And then it depends if you're right or left-handed. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to use a right-hand guide. So I can bring my guide in to around just over the 16 mark, because my film's set at the 16, so I'm going to run it a little bit wider than that. So I've got my guide set up to guide me. I'm going to grab some sheets to run. And then basically I'm going to hit auto on here and start the machine running. I'm just going to increase the speed a little bit. Now, the difference between single and double-sided celloglazing, and encapsulating for that matter, is that with this I actually want to leave a gap between the sheets. So I want to leave a little gap which gives basically me enough to cut the sheets off. So I'll place my other sheets here for a moment. I'll just speed her up a little bit more. So you can see our first sheet, our setup sheets come out, and our first sheet of the job is now coming through. So basically I'm just using my guide to guide me. Small gap. And we come out the back. So because we're doing two sides at once, we need to knife cut to separate the sheets. So basically, once I've knife cut it, I've got matte laminate in the back, gloss on the front, they come out nice and flat. So usually this would be done as a two-person job, or you set your speed down nice and, or not, all pretty slow, and then I can feed a sheet in the front. And then move around to the back to take it off. So I can do the whole job myself, but ideally with two people it's a little bit faster. So we're running very slow at the moment, so I'll probably increase my speed a little bit higher than that. Give me over here. And you can see the gap, the web of film there between the two sheets. So basically I'm just knife cutting them off. So at that speed there, that's pretty comfortable to work with both sides of the machine at once. See, and that's my matte and my gloss, laminating both sides at once. So by knife cutting those sheets off as I'm doing, that gives me my clean edges back for guillotining afterwards and for post finishing. So if it was business cards, or these are book covers, but it gives me my clean edges back for guillotining afterwards. So this is yet another feature of the 650. This machine is very, very versatile. It does the job of about 4 different machines, but it can do them all, and it's just learning basically the different setups. And so that's basically your double-sided setup finished. So what I will do now is basically I'll give you a quick guide on how to cut it down, because it's very important that we don't damage or cut our rollers. So when we're removing film from this machine, if we're removing it to do another job, we want to cut on this steel bar. We don't want to come anywhere near our rollers, front or back. Because if I put a little knife nick in that roller, running very thin film like this, it will show up on every sheet you do, especially a black sheet like we just run. Now this one is the same. I want to keep my knife down away from the rollers as much as possible. So I've cut the webs, I'm opening the rollers, I'm going to get the web and grab it in my hand. That's our last couple of sheets that went through, and I've just pulled it out of the machine, so you can see everything is now removed from the machine. And then depending on what we were doing next, we could either cool the machine down, or we can leave it sitting there on standby for the next job. But I can't point out enough that the rollers are the most critical part. Keep any cutting and anything away, and if you do have a wrap up or any problems, work in reverse. Never try to cut anything off the roller. Thanks for watching, and we'll have more videos on more different features. Thank you.